Human tries teaching alien girl a handshake, but human sees the handshake trigger her right. Hello everyone. Before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It's quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now let's return to our main character. The lights in Observation Bay 6 hummed with a faint electric buzz, flickering just enough to make Ethan Cole glance up from his tablet. A recycled draft of cool air drifted across the room, carrying the metallic scent of sterilized steel. He stood alone beside the reinforced window, watching the soft swirl of distant nebulae beyond the station's glass like a calm ocean of stars. His fingers tapped a rhythm on the tablet's frame. Nervous, focused, the habit of a man who had spent too many hours explaining human habits to non-human minds. Behind him, the sliding door hissed open. Soft steps, too soft to belong to any human. Helios Four entered the room like a shimmer of cool light. Her turquoise-silver skin reflected the overhead glow, giving her an almost translucent aura. She paused exactly 3 feet from him, posture straight, hands folded with ceremonial precision. That was the thing about her species. Every breath looked like a ritual. Ethan turned, offering a gentle smile meant to break tension. Okay, he said, lowering the tablet. Let's try something simple today. A greeting. A handshake. Kaylee blinked slowly, her pupils narrowing. Handshake, she echoed, the word carrying a crisp accent shaped by a different kind of sky. She watched his hand rise with the wary attention of someone observing a live wire. The station hummed again, steady, soft, like a heartbeat under metal. Ethan stepped closer, careful not to invade her space, extending his hand as casually as any Earth custom could allow. It's just a friendly gesture, he said. Humans do this all the time. Kaylee studied the hand like she was decoding a star map. Ethan kept still, letting her have the moment. A single strand of her white-silver hair drifted across her cheek as she lifted her hand, hesitating inches above his. Her skin glimmered. When it caught the light, like frost kissed by sunrise. If this is friendly, she murmured, then why does it feel significant? Ethan chuckled softly. Because new things feel big until they don't. Trust me. Totally normal. She inhaled, slow and steady, then placed her palm against his. And the room changed. A faint glow, barely there, rose beneath her skin, tracing silver veins up her wrist. The lights overhead flickered, as if responding to her pulse. Ethan froze, breath caught. Her glow brightened, not threatening, but undeniably powerful, as if emotion itself ran on bioluminescence. Kaylee's eyes widened, the shimmer in her irises sharpening like a lens. No, she whispered. This cannot be. Ethan softened his voice. Hey, it's okay. It's just a... She pulled her hand back, clutching it to her chest, as the glow slowly receded. Her voice was barely more than a breath. Human, you have triggered a Rite. Ethan blinked. Eh what? Kaylee stepped back, her expression shifting with a kind of controlled alarm he had never seen on her face. In my culture, she said softly, skin contact greeting is not casual. It is an initiation. A vow. A binding. She swallowed, as if the air had thickened. You asked for a Rite, Ethan Cole, and the station has recorded it. Somewhere behind them, a console chimed, low, echoing, ancient in tone despite its digital origin. Ethan turned toward the sound, pulse skipping, as the console displayed a symbol he didn't recognize. A circle split by a single line of light. Kaylee's voice trembled. This is the sign of the Varun oath. Her eyes lifted to his. You have made a promise you do not yet understand. For a moment Ethan Cole simply stared at the glowing symbol on the console, the thin line of light splitting the circle like a silent warning. The observation bay felt suddenly smaller, the recycled air colder, as if the station itself understood something he did not. Kaylee Four stood very still, her turquoise-silver skin dimming as the bioluminescent pulse faded beneath the surface. Her hands were clasped tightly at her chest, fingers pressed together with ceremonial precision, the posture of someone bracing for consequences. Ethan took a slow breath and stepped carefully toward her, mindful of every inch. Kaylee, he said softly, It was just a handshake. A greeting. I did not mean to trigger anything. Her eyes lifted, luminous and steady. Intent does not matter. Contact does. Her voice held that cool cadence he had learned to recognize, where emotion hid behind discipline. Your touch mirrored the ancient initiation pattern of my people. The system interpreted it as consent. Ethan exhaled, rubbing the back of his neck. Well, that seems like something the orientation handbook should have mentioned. She did not smile, but something in her posture loosened, the tension in her shoulders easing just slightly. Her gaze drifted to the console again. The rite is not harmful, she said quietly, but it is binding until it is formally released. On my world, it means both individuals will act with mutual regard. Protection. Respect. Ethan blinked. That actually does not sound so bad. Kaylee looked at him with a searching expression, as if confirming he understood the weight of what he had stepped into. It is not dangerous, she repeated, softer now. But it is not small. He nodded. Then tell me what I should do. The lights overhead steadied into a calm glow as she stepped closer, her outline catching the blue light from the console. First, she said, you must remain near. The rite symbolizes acknowledgement. Distance would confuse the system's reading. Ethan gestured lightly toward the corridor. Then let us walk. You lead. Surprisingly, she followed without hesitation. They moved through the quiet hallways of Helios Four, the metal floors humming with the steady rhythm of oxygen pumps beneath their feet. Every now and then Kaylee's eyes flicked to the side, observing the shadows, reading the airflow, her instincts sharp even in peace. Your species values physical greetings, she said, her tone reflective. You grasp hands, you pat shoulders, you embrace. It is direct. It is normal for us, Ethan replied. Most of the time it just means we trust the person a little. She considered that. On Varun, trust is not shown by touch. It is shown by witness. When someone stands with you during a transition or challenge, that is trust. Ethan chuckled softly. We have a saying like that on Earth. Actions speak louder than words. Kaylee tilted her head, eyes narrowing with curiosity. Your language always speaks in sound, but your meaning often lives elsewhere. They turned a corner into a dim maintenance wing, the illumination strips casting long bands of pale blue across their path. Ethan slowed his steps when he noticed the faint silver glow returning beneath her skin, subtle but unmistakable. You are lighting up again, he said gently. She paused, touching her wrist as if she felt the glow under her fingertips. It happens in moments of elevated attention, she murmured. It is involuntary. Ethan gave a small, reassuring nod. Then you are doing fine. I am not alarmed. Her eyes softened, and for the first time since the handshake her voice carried warmth. Your calmness is unusual for your kind. You do not rush. You do not retreat. I teach cultural protocols, Ethan said with a faint smile. If I panicked every time a new gesture meant something unexpected, I would never get any work done. She breathed out a sound that was almost a laugh, the glow in her skin flickering like a quiet ripple of light. Perhaps, she said, the Rite chose well. Ethan slowed, absorbing that. Ahead of them, the corridor opened into a wide overlook lined with transparent panels showing the stars drifting in slow motion past the station's orbit. She stepped beside the glass, her reflection merging with distant constellations. On Varun, she said softly, once a rite is formed, both individuals must reaffirm their intention before it fades. Ethan met her eyes. And how do we do that? Kaylee turned toward him, the faintest trace of silver light blooming along her cheeks. We begin, she whispered, by standing still. Together. Without fear. The overlook hummed with the low vibration of the station's engines, a steady pulse beneath the transparent panels that framed the drifting stars. Ethan Cole stood beside Kaylee Varun, close enough to feel the faint chill that radiated from her turquoise-silver skin, but not close enough to intrude. She remained perfectly still, as if listening to some internal compass only her species could sense. Her eyes reflected constellations, soft and bright, making her expression unreadable yet strangely open. Ethan cleared his throat gently, careful not to break whatever fragile equilibrium settled between them. Is this how a reaffirmation begins? He asked, voice steady. By standing in silence. Kaylee did not look away from the stars. Silence, she said, reveals intention. My people believe that words are easy to give. Stillness is harder. Ethan let the quiet stretch out, accepting it, letting his breath match the slow rhythm of the engines. The moments layered like thin sheets of glass, clear and delicate. Kaylee finally turned toward him, her posture flowing with deliberate grace. The Rite measures presence, she continued. If one remains, the bond stays balanced. If one retreats, it fades. Ethan nodded. Then I am here. Something faint flickered across her features. Approval, maybe even relief. The glow beneath her skin softened, no longer sharp or alarming, but warm like moonlight on water. You adapt quickly, she said. Most who encounter a Rite become overwhelmed. You do not. Ethan offered a small smile. I teach cultural differences for a living. I learn by observing. She studied him with new focus, her gaze slow and attentive. Your people rely on touch to communicate trust. My people rely on proximity. Yet both aim for the same truth. Connection, Ethan said. Yes, she agreed. Connection. A soft chime echoed through the corridor, the overhead lights shifting to a muted gold. The station had entered its artificial dusk cycle, bringing a gentle dimming that made Kaylee's bioluminescence stand out like a faint constellation of its own. Ethan rubbed his palms lightly, a grounding habit. So, he said, what happens next? After standing still together, I mean. Kaylee's expression softened. If the system believes the Rite is intentional, it will begin a sequence of symbolic readings. Nothing harmful. It simply evaluates whether the bond is stable. How does it evaluate that? Ethan asked. By sensing emotional consistency, she replied. Not emotion itself, but steadiness. Presence. Focus. Ethan gave a thoughtful nod. Then I think we can manage that. Her eyes warmed at the confidence in his voice. She stepped closer, not enough to startle, but enough that he could see the shifting silver patterns beneath her skin. The movement seemed involuntary, responding to thought, or emotion, or both. There is one more part, she said softly. You must confirm the greeting from earlier. Ethan blinked. Confirm? You mean, repeat the gesture? Not fully, she said. Just a mirrored motion. Symbolic acknowledgement. Ethan lifted his hand slowly, palm open. Like this. Kaylee hesitated for a breath, then raised her own hand, meeting his without touching. Their palms hovered inches apart, separated only by a thin cushion of air and an unspoken understanding. The console in the corridor chimed again, softer this time, as if satisfied. She let her hand fall gently to her side. The system accepts our intention, she said. Ethan exhaled, a feeling of relief threading through his chest. Good, he said. I was worried I might trigger another ancient symbol. For the first time, Kaylee laughed. Quiet, silvery, almost like glass chiming in a breeze. You have a talent for unexpected outcomes, Ethan Cole. I promise, he replied lightly. I will try to avoid surprising your system again. Not all surprises are unwelcome, she said, her voice calm, but carrying a subtle warmth that lingered in the cool air between them. The engines hummed beneath their feet, steady and sure, as if the station itself acknowledged whatever fragile but genuine understanding had just formed. Kaylee turned back to the stars. Ethan stood beside her, close enough that their reflections touched, and for the first time since the Rite began, neither of them felt uncertain about standing there together. Ethan Cole walked beside Kaylee Four through the quiet heart of Helios Four, the corridor lights shifting into their nighttime cycle. The soft gold dimmed into a cool blue that made the edges of the metal panels blur, as if the station itself were drifting into a calmer breath. Kaylee moved with a kind of careful grace, every step measured, every gesture deliberate, as though she feared the walls might misinterpret her as easily as the Rite system had. Ethan kept pace without rushing. He had learned that stillness mattered to her people, and presence mattered even more. The system accepted our intention, Kaylee said after a long silence, her voice a quiet ribbon in the cool air. But a Rite does not end with acknowledgement. It evolves if both individuals continue to act with regard. Act with regard, Ethan repeated. Meaning what exactly? She slowed near a junction where two hallways met, pausing beneath a soft overhead glow. Meaning you allow the system to observe your decisions. Your attention. Your willingness to remain. Ethan smiled gently. I am here, am I not? She looked at him then, truly looked, as though studying every line of his face to confirm his sincerity. The silver glow beneath her skin brightened just slightly, subtle enough to be missed by anyone who did not know her well, but Ethan noticed. You are, she said quietly, and that is not common. They continued walking until they reached Research Wing 2, a long stretch of reinforced glass overlooking a chamber where scientists tested environmental readings from distant planets. Thick cables fed into diagnostic consoles, each one blinking steady green. Everything here felt grounded and familiar to Ethan, a place of calm logic and measurable variables. Kaylee stood near the glass, her reflection framed by stars and faint machinery. There is something you must know, she said. The Rite you triggered, it is an old form. Very old. My people do not use it in daily life. Ethan leaned against the railing with an easy posture. So what does that mean for you? For me, she said, fingers brushing lightly across her wrist where the glow had faded. It is a reminder of something I have not embraced in many cycles. Trust. The words settled heavy between them. Ethan straightened, hearing the slight tremor beneath her normally composed tone. Kaylee, he said gently. You do not have to force anything because of a gesture I did not understand. I know, she replied. The Rite does not demand closeness. Only clarity. Ethan nodded. Then we stay clear. Honest. Steady. She considered that, and for the first time, her shoulders eased, posture lowering from ceremonial precision to something more natural, more human in its softness. You speak simply, she said, but your simplicity carries weight. He chuckled. That is just a polite way of saying I talk too straightforward. No, she corrected softly. It is a way of saying you speak without masks. That is rare. Another soft chime echoed overhead, a reminder that the station had fully entered its night cycle. The corridors around them dimmed further, leaving only a faint silver line tracing their path. Kaylee stepped closer to the glass, her hand hovering inches from the surface as she watched a cluster of stars drift slowly beyond it. Where I come from, she said, the sky is always shifting, colors bending across our atmosphere. We learn to read the world by watching light move. Ethan moved beside her, keeping a respectful distance, yet sharing her view. Earth has sunsets that feel like that, he said quietly. Orange, pink, red. Some nights the whole sky looks painted. She turned to him, her expression softening. You speak of your home as if it breathes. It does, he said, in its own way. Kaylee studied him for another long moment. Then perhaps this Rite is not as misplaced as I feared. Ethan tilted his head. Meaning, she said with a steady breath. Your presence does not feel unfamiliar. It feels aligned. The hum of the station wrapped around them, low and steady, like a quiet affirmation neither needed to name. And in that suspended moment, with stars drifting across the glass and the faint silver glow returning to her skin, Ethan understood that something between them had shifted in a way no system or ritual could entirely measure. It was not a bond of obligation. It was the beginning of trust. Helios Four settled deeper into its artificial night, the soft hum of temperature regulators drifting through the quiet corridors like a steady whisper. Ethan Cole walked beside Kaylee Varun toward the central atrium, their footsteps muted against the polished floor. The Rite had shifted something subtle between them, not dramatic, just a new awareness in the small spaces where their paths touched. Kaylee paused near a utility console embedded into the wall, its surface glowing with faint blue symbols. She studied the readings for a moment, her silver-lined eyes narrowing with thoughtful focus. The system recalibrated after our reaffirmation, she murmured. It is monitoring proximity, but no longer scanning for full contact. Ethan nodded. So it trusts us a little now. She glanced at him, the corner of her expression softening. Systems do not trust. They calculate. You are the one who chooses trust. He smiled lightly. Then let me do the choosing. Something warm flickered beneath her skin, a ripple of soft silver along her cheekbones that reminded him of dawn breaking across frozen ground. She looked away, as if steadying herself. There is a part of the Rite I have not explained, she said quietly. Ethan straightened, sensing her hesitation. Tell me whenever you are ready. Kaylee exhaled, the sound calm but deliberate. A Rite is not only a bond between individuals. It is a record. The system observes our alignment and forms predictions about compatibility. It uses those predictions to determine whether the Rite should continue. Ethan raised an eyebrow. Compatibility? You mean personality? Not exactly, she answered. It measures resonance. Intention. The steadiness of shared presence. Ethan chuckled softly. That sounds more philosophical than scientific. My people believe those two things are not different, she said. They resumed walking, the soft overhead lighting painting shifting patterns across the walls. When they reached the atrium's observation platform, Kaylee moved toward the wide, transparent dome. Beyond it, space unraveled in sweeping clusters of stars, bright enough to cast reflections on the polished floor. Ethan stood beside her, aware of the way she folded her hands behind her back in a very composed, almost ceremonial stance. Does the Rite demand something next? He asked gently. No, she said. It does not demand. It reflects. Reflects what? She turned toward him, and in the soft glow of the dome's light her expression held a quiet vulnerability he had not seen before. It reflects the bond as it exists, she said. Not as tradition expects. Not as history dictates. Only as it truly is. Ethan absorbed that. So the system is not asking us to perform anything. It is simply watching. Yes, she said. It waits for confirmation of what already lives between those who shared the gesture. Ethan let his hand rest lightly against the railing, not pushing closer, not pulling away. Then let it see us clearly. Nothing forced. Nothing artificial. Her eyes softened. You simplify things that my people have carried in complexity for generations. Ethan shrugged lightly. I think some things are only complicated because someone long ago was afraid to keep them simple. Kaylee held his gaze, the faint silver shimmer beneath her skin blooming, subtle yet undeniable. Your way of seeing the world, it brings clarity I did not expect. He gave a small, warm smile. I could say the same about you. She turned toward the stars again, her voice barely above a whisper. Then perhaps the Rite will reflect something neither of us planned. The engines hummed beneath them, steady and warm, as the quiet space between them settled into something calm, gentle, and unmistakably aligned. The atrium lights dimmed further as Helios Four shifted into its late-night cycle, leaving only the glow of distant starlight and the faint silver shimmer beneath Kaylee's skin. Ethan Cole stood beside her in the quiet dome, the transparent curve above them reflecting their silhouettes against the endless dark. The silence did not feel heavy. It felt intentional, like the station itself was giving them space to breathe. Kaylee lowered her hands from behind her back, fingers relaxing at her sides. There is something else you should understand, she said softly. The Rite can misinterpret interactions if they are not aligned with clarity. Ethan turned slightly toward her. Meaning it can read things incorrectly? If emotion is uncertain, she replied. Or if actions contradict presence, the system may interpret it as instability. Ethan nodded slowly. So staying steady matters. Yes, she said. Steadiness is a form of honesty. He let that settle before asking, what does instability look like to your people? Kaylee thought for a moment, her gaze drifting upward. On Varun, instability is felt in the body first. The light beneath our skin changes rhythm. It pulses irregularly. It reflects inner conflict. Ethan glanced at her gently. Is that happening now? Kaylee looked down at her hands, turning them slightly, so he could see. The silver glow traced soft, even lines along her wrists and up her forearms, steady as a heartbeat. No, she said quietly. Not now. Ethan felt his breath ease without realizing he had been holding it. Good, he said. Then we are doing something right. They remained near the dome as a cluster of micrometeors drifted past, leaving thin streaks of light. Kaylee stepped closer to the viewport, her reflection overlapping with Ethan's in the glass. Your presence does not bring conflict, she murmured. Only change. And I am not certain my people prepared us for that kind of shift. Change does not have to be dangerous, Ethan said, keeping his tone calm. Sometimes it is just unexpected. Unexpected, she repeated, tasting the word with careful precision. Your language places much weight on surprises. Ethan chuckled softly. Surprises are part of living. They remind us we are not in control of everything. She turned toward him, silver eyes searching his face with focused curiosity. Does that not concern you? Not when the surprise is someone trying to trust me, he replied. The glow beneath her skin softened again, a subtle bloom along her cheekbones. She looked away briefly, gathering her thoughts before speaking. Ethan Cole, she said at last, the Rite does not understand small gestures. If two individuals share intention, the system assumes meaning. It believes intention is a truth that cannot be ignored. Ethan frowned gently. Are you saying the system thinks more is happening than we think is happening? The system sees resonance, she said, even if we do not name it. Ethan leaned closer to the glass, keeping his posture open and unhurried. Kaylee, you do not need to be afraid to explain what you feel. Whatever the system thinks, we decide what this is. Not it. She looked at him again, and this time her expression held less restraint. That is what unsettles me, she admitted. My people rely on systems to interpret what we struggle to express. But you rely on yourself. On your choices. Ethan offered a gentle smile. Then let this be my choice. I am here. I am steady. And I am not going anywhere unless you tell me otherwise. The silver glow brightened, blooming like a quiet star across her arms and shoulders. She inhaled slowly, visibly grounding herself. Then the Rite will read stability, she whispered. It will see alignment. It will continue. Ethan nodded. Then let it continue. Kaylee stepped away from the glass and faced him fully, her posture no longer formal or guarded but calm, deliberate, and open. Ethan Cole, she said, my people say that a bond becomes real not when it is declared, but when it is understood. Ethan held her gaze, steady and certain. Then I understand. And in the quiet hum of the station, the silver light beneath her skin pulsed once, warm and unmistakably aligned. The quiet of Helios Four's late-night cycle held steady as Ethan Cole and Kaylee Maroon remained near the observation dome, their reflections faint against the glass. The silver glow beneath her skin had softened into something steady, almost serene, but there was an undertone in her breathing that told Ethan she was still sorting through emotions her people rarely displayed openly. A soft chime rippled through the atrium, gentle but distinct, and Kaylee's posture shifted immediately. She turned her head, listening with the stillness of someone trained to interpret subtle signals. The Rite system is initiating a secondary reading, she murmured. It means it has detected a shift. Ethan raised an eyebrow. A shift in what? In our alignment, she said softly. The system measures the resonance between individuals. It has sensed a change in the level of regard. Ethan let that sink in. Is this reading dangerous? No, she said quickly, shaking her head. It is not meant to be intrusive. It is more like an echo. It confirms what it perceives. And what does it perceive? Ethan asked. Kaylee hesitated. Her hands lowered slowly to her sides, fingers brushing together as though she needed grounding. It perceives heightened presence between us. Ethan stepped closer by a single measured pace, careful not to create pressure. Kaylee, you can tell me if this Rite is causing you distress. She met his eyes, her expression steady but layered with something quieter. It is not distress, she said. It is unfamiliar. The silver glow beneath her skin brightened slightly, blooming along her collarbones and tracing delicate lines down her arms. My people experience resonance rarely, she continued. We avoid unnecessary contact to prevent misinterpretation. But you... She stopped, searching for words. You bring clarity in places where I expected confusion. Ethan offered a soft smile. I am glad I can help, even if I am mostly stumbling through your customs. You are not stumbling, she said firmly. You are intentional. That matters. Another chime sounded, softer this time, and Kaylee exhaled with a focused calm. It is asking for the next stage, she said. We do not need to complete it. The Rite can end here if we choose. Ethan studied her carefully. Do you want it to end? Kaylee looked down at her hands. The glow beneath her skin pulsed once, steady and warm. I do not wish to end what is forming without understanding it. Ethan nodded slowly. Then tell me what the next stage requires. She moved a little closer, enough that the faint chill of her skin brushed the air between them. It asks for mutual declaration, she said. Not a promise. Not an oath. Just acknowledgement of presence. Ethan nodded. Then I acknowledge I am here, with intention, steady and willing. The glow in her skin flared softly, like a lantern behind translucent glass. And I acknowledge your presence, she said. Without fear. Without resistance. The console at the far end of the atrium pulsed with a soft wash of blue light, signaling acceptance. Kaylee inhaled sharply, not alarmed but undeniably moved. The Rite is stable, she whispered. It reads alignment without conflict. Ethan leaned lightly on the railing. Then that is good news. Yes, she said, her voice gentle. It means the system recognizes balance between us. She stepped closer to the dome's glass, the starlight washing across her features. Ethan Cole, she said, you have shown me what steadiness means in your culture. Now I must show you what it means in mine. I am listening, he said. Kaylee lifted her gaze toward the stars, and the silver glow beneath her skin shimmered like reflected moonlight. To my people, she said softly, steadiness is not the absence of uncertainty. It is choosing to remain anyway. She turned toward him, her expression clear and unguarded. And I choose to remain. Ethan felt the quiet weight of her words settle around them like a soft mantle. Helios Four hummed steadily beneath their feet, and for the first time since the rite began, the moment did not feel like an ancient system guiding them. It felt like a choice made freely between two individuals who stood together in the quiet of a drifting station, aligned in ways neither fully expected but both now understood. The hum of Helios Four settled into an almost soothing rhythm as Ethan Cole and Kaylee remained beneath the curve of the observation dome. The silver glow beneath her skin had softened into a calm, steady pattern, but Ethan sensed a quiet tension beneath her composed exterior, the kind that came not from fear but from anticipation. She lifted her gaze toward the cluster of stars outside, as if aligning herself with something distant and familiar. There is a truth you should know, she said quietly, hands clasped lightly in front of her. The rite that formed between us was not only ancient. It was reserved. Ethan turned toward her, listening with steady attention. Reserved for whom? She hesitated, choosing her words with deliberate care. For individuals who share a bond strong enough to influence outcomes. On my world, such a connection is considered rare. It is not romantic, nor is it ceremonial. It is meaningful. Ethan absorbed that, his voice gentle. And you think the system believes we share something meaningful? The system does not think, she replied. It recognizes resonance, intent, alignment. She looked at him, the silver light in her eyes reflecting his outline. But I must decide if the resonance it reads is true for me. Ethan nodded. Then let us figure that out together. Kaylee stepped closer to the railing, her fingers resting lightly on its smooth surface. Your people share understanding through words. Mine share understanding through presence. Through how one individual responds to the silence of another. Ethan smiled softly. Then let the silence speak. She glanced at him, surprised by how easily he embraced her world's logic, then looked back at the stars, letting the quiet settle. A soft chime echoed through the atrium, and the floor panels pulsed with a faint blue rhythm, signaling a shift in the Rite system's monitoring pattern. Kaylee stiffened slightly. That reading is not standard, she whispered. Ethan straightened. What does it mean? It means the system has detected a deeper connection, something that reaches beyond proximity or verbal acknowledgement. Her breath caught lightly. It has classified us as mutually significant. Ethan felt his pulse quicken, not with fear, but with understanding. Is that a problem? It is not a problem, she said, her voice steadying. It is unexpected. She turned fully toward him now, her posture no longer ceremonial, no longer guarded. Ethan Cole, the Rite has interpreted your steadiness as something more than cultural respect. Ethan waited, giving her the space to continue. It believes your intention toward me is genuine. He nodded slowly. It is genuine. The glow beneath her skin brightened in a soft ripple, moving from her wrists to her shoulders like a gentle wave. You do not hesitate, she murmured. Ethan shook his head. There is no reason to. Everything I feel is steady. She looked at him long enough that the air between them shifted, softened. The system has also identified my response, she whispered. It has read my alignment with you as chosen. Ethan breathed deeply, letting the significance of her words settle. Is it correct? Kaylee lowered her gaze for a moment, her voice nearly a whisper. Yes. The console at the far end of the atrium pulsed again, this time with a warm violet light that reflected off the dome. Kaylee watched it without fear. The rite is reaching its final stage, she said. It will ask us to demonstrate mutual recognition. Ethan's voice remained calm. What does that mean for your people? She faced him completely now. It means we each acknowledge what the system already sees. That we stand together not because we must, but because we choose to. Ethan nodded once, firm and steady. Then I choose to stand with you. The glow beneath her skin softened into a warm, steady pulse. And I choose to stand with you, she said. Helios Four vibrated gently beneath them, as if the entire station recognized the moment. And for the first time since the rite began, Kaliach's expression carried no hesitation, only quiet truth. The violet glow from the distant console spread in a slow wave across the atrium floor, casting soft reflections on the transparent dome above. Ethan Cole and Kaylee Varun. The air felt still, almost reverent, as though the entire station understood the quiet weight of the moment unfolding within its walls. Kaylee stepped closer, her movements calm, intentional, free of the guarded tension she had carried earlier. The silver light beneath her skin pulsed in a steady rhythm, no longer wavering with uncertainty. The final stage of the rite is simple, she said softly. It asks for recognition through stillness. Not touch, not words, just understanding. Ethan nodded. Then show me what it needs. She positioned herself directly before him, leaving only a comfortable space between them. Her posture was tall but gentle, hands resting lightly at her sides. Stand as you are, she said. Do not move unless you feel meaning. The system reads truth best when it is not forced. Ethan planted his feet, letting the quiet settle into his chest. The hum of Helios Four softened into a low, even vibration beneath them. And now, he asked. Kaylee lifted her eyes, meeting his gaze without hesitation. Now we let the moment breathe. The silence that followed was not empty. It carried the subtle language of unspoken recognition, the kind that grew from shared steps through uncertainty, steady choices, and mutual regard. Ethan kept his gaze steady, breathing slow, letting his presence speak for him. Kaylee's silver glow responded, brightening in a soft ripple across her arms and shoulders, as if echoing the steadiness she felt. Your presence does not falter, she murmured. The rite reads that clearly. It is because I mean it, Ethan replied. Every part of this. She exhaled with a quiet steadiness, the kind that belonged to someone who had finally reached the center of a truth she had been circling for far too long. Then the rite acknowledges us both. A soft chime resonated through the atrium, deeper than the ones before, gentle but full, like a bell rung beneath water. The dome lights flickered, not in warning, but in confirmation. The floor beneath their feet pulsed with a faint line of violet, then softened into a warm blue. It is done, Kaylee whispered. The system has recorded mutual recognition. Ethan stepped a small measure closer, careful, respectful. And what does that mean for you? Kaylee looked at him with eyes that reflected more than starlight. It means the rite sees us as aligned. Not by ritual, not by ancient design, by choice. She touched her fingertips lightly over her heart, a gesture Ethan had learned was deeply meaningful among her people. Ethan Cole, the rite only finalizes when both individuals carry clarity. And I carry clarity. He felt something quiet settle behind his ribs, warm and grounding. Then I carry it too. She held his gaze, allowing the silence to linger. Her expression was open, unguarded, and illuminated by the soft glow beneath her skin. On my world, she said, when two individuals stand in this final stage, they honor it with one truth. Tell me, Ethan said softly. The truth is this, she whispered. A bond is not formed by systems. It is revealed by them. Ethan let the words settle, deeper than any ceremony, heavier than any ancient tradition. Kaylee lifted her hand, not to touch him, but to let her palm hover near his, the same distance as their first misinterpreted handshake, but now carrying intention instead of accident. Her palm glowed softly, her light steady and warm. Ethan lifted his hand, matching her distance exactly, letting the thin layer of air between their palms hold the meaning. The console chimed once more, a final, gentle note of completion. Kaylee's voice softened into a quiet truth. We stand aligned, Ethan Cole. And the stars beyond the dome shimmered against the glass as if echoing that alignment in their own silent language.